Hello, and welcome to episode 1 of the Infinity Creepy Cringe Vault. My name is Gerald, and I will be your resident storyteller for the night. Disclaimer: this story contains disturbing and distressing content. So, if you are a sensitive individual and you don't like that, please exit now. But if you are a fan of the creepy cringe, then put your shitting pants on. Here we go. Today's story focuses around anime. Anime graduated high school. She got married, and her husband, they saved up all their money, and they bought a franchise fast food restaurant. And actually, at the time, it was the first in their town. They were very, very successful. Very, very successful. And she was essentially the star of the town. We said she dressed like a movie star. Just, a real advocate for women's empowerment. Well, her and her husband were running it for 40 or so years. Well, unfortunately, he passed away. Rest in peace. And, after he passed, she didn't want to do it anymore, so she ended up selling it. I'm sure she could do it if she wanted to, but she sold her franchise and, to the millionaire, no responsibility. She could just retire. She was not the kind of woman just to retire and quit. No, she ended up going into real estate, and she would buy up various properties around their lovely town and became very, very successful. Oh, this is over a span of 50 or so years. Fast forward. Anime, 85 years old. It's the night before a big dance, and she is looking at all her wardrobe. She wants to pick out the best thing, the best costume outfit to wear to a dance tomorrow, the next day. She was going to a dance with her fiance, believe it or not, who was a retired doctor in his 80s. Holy crap. You could still find love in your 80s. Things couldn't be going better. So she's trying on her rings, jewelry, a black cape. She wants to just look ravishing, because keep in mind, she has an appearance to keep up. She is the movie star of the town. So she's just having a blast, getting ready, and the phone rings. So she picks up the phone. Hello. Oh, it's one of her tenants, and he's furious. You gotta help me. She's like, what's wrong? Slow down, man. What's wrong? Tell me what's going on here. And he goes from a furious, standoffish, angry to whisper, and whispers to her over the phone, there's ghosts in my basement. There's ghosts in the attic. There's ghosts in my attic. She's like, ghosts in your attic? And this guy, yeah, you have to get him out for me. This guy's howling crazy. I don't know, on drugs, or there really is ghosts in the attic, or whatever. What would you do in that situation? Oh, anyways, she says, okay, do whatever, I'll take care of it tomorrow. I got a big ball tomorrow to get ready for. So she hangs up the phone. Knock on the door. What is going on? She's like, is this the ghost from the attic coming to get me? Is this another tenant? Is this, what could this be, She goes down, opens the door, and smiles. It's just her nephew. So, she had a big family. A lot of brothers, a lot of sisters, nephews, probably 5 brothers and sisters and numerous nephews. And she lived across the street from a church. So she'd have people from her church coming over with her. She has normal, frequent visitors. So, it was her nephew. Oh, just nephew, not a ghost in the attic, not a creepy tenant, just her nephew. So they sit down and they start talking. Blah, blah, normal day-to-day stuff. And she mentions to him about the tenant. He gets really worried for her and says, I don't think you should be alone with this guy. Let her go over and check the ghost in his attic. She plays it off. She's like, he's harmless. Don't worry, buddy. I could handle this guy. I'm not worried about him. Like, all right, well, if you don't want to take my advice, whatever, I love you. He gives her a hug and a kiss, heads on his merry little way. So fast forward to the next day, the dance. Ooh-wee. She gets her thing on with her retired doctor, fiance, about to get married, having the time of her life. 85, just getting down. Getting down. She has a blast at the ball. Best time she's had in a while. Fast forward to the next day. Goes to church. Has, a couple of her family members over for lunch after church. Just to, wind down, get ready. Feeling great. Feeling great. Grand, wonderful. They wrap up the lunch. Everybody leaves. A couple hours go by, and she gets another knock on the door. Dun, dun, dun. She's like, oh, look at this be now. Busy, busy day. She goes, unlocks the door, opens it up, smiles for her visitor, says, hello, that's me. This time, the visitor says, I need help. I need help. He just keeps asking her for help. He says, you're going to help me or else. She's like, no, I will not help you. I cannot help you. The visitor was hiding something behind his back. He pulls it out. It's a big old wrench. And he holds it up over his head and says, you're going to help me. She says, no. I will not help you. So he starts moving towards her. And keep in mind, she's an 85-year-old woman. But she turns around and moves as quickly as she can to the back of the room where there's a door. And she opens up the door. The door leads downstairs to a finished basement. She heads downstairs and again, keep in mind, she's moving as fast. She's probably got so much adrenaline going through her, but she's got to be tired, scared, adrenaline, just everything. Heads down. Hopefully, it won't follow her down. The visitor will just leave. No, she turns around. There's a rug and a couch. She's standing on the rug by the couch and turns around to look up at the door. She sees the visitor with his wrench looking down at her from the top of the stairs, and he makes her way down. Makes his way down. He gets right in front of her and says, you're gonna help me. Till her last breath, she refused. She says, no, I'm not gonna help you. And finally, the attacker raises his wrench and strikes her over the head. Now, with her age and, brittle bones. I could only hope that she was unconscious or even had passed on before what happens next, because it just really breaks your heart and it's disturbing. The whole story is disturbing and heartbreaking, but this attacker had a knife sheathed to his belt, and he ended up pulling out the knife and he thrust it into her, damn near close to 100 times. And, her body was probably not recognizable. Just real sad, real sad. And, like I said, hopefully she was unconscious or passed before that went on, because it's just brutal. But the attacker looks around, finally comes to. This was maybe a crime of passion. He says this is a very lovely finished basement. It's got a washer, a dryer, a shower, a bed. It's a full-blown apartment. So this attacker calmly takes off his clothes, does a load of laundry, hops in the shower, takes a shower, scurries around the basement, finds cleaning supplies, scrubs the area clean. Well, the only thing left in the scene is Anna Mae on the floor and the rug in her own blood, but everything else pristine. The attacker leaves and goes on. Pretends nothing happens. So the next day, Anna Mae had plans with her fiance to go get lunch. Her fiance comes over about 11:30. Knocks on the door, nothing. Knocks on the door, nothing. Puts his ear up to the wall, to the door. Listens, nothing on. He's really concerned, like, oh, maybe she fell or something. We need help. He didn't have a key yet. So he walked across the street. She lived across the street to the church, and talks to the receptionist and says, I need you to call 911 for Anna Mae, and I need you to call her brother, because they're very close and he likely would have a key to let them in. So, okay. The receptionist calls the police and the brother, and they both line up over at the house. They meet up. The police and the brother meet up, and the brother knows where the key is. He opens up the door, and they're side by side. And keep in mind that this is a very pristine community. They don't see murders or anything, so the police officers are not familiar how to deal with situations like this. So the brother and the police officer were together, walking down the stairs together, and they discover Anna Mae. And her brother is hoping it was a dream, or it's just such a gruesome scene. See your sister lying there in a pool of blood and nothing going on. Like, oh no. I could only imagine how that guy felt. And another police officer comes. So there's two police officers, the fiance and the brother. They're just sitting there dumbfounded. Who could have done such a thing? Such a pristine community. The best community in the world, possibly. How could this happen? So they pull their resources and start the investigation. They talk to the family members, the fiance. The first person you always look at is the significant other. But remember, this guy is in his 80s. And he had loved her. They're getting married. But he was essentially ruled out. They didn't think he had the strength to hit her over the head with that wrench, blunt object, we'll say, or he just didn't have the strength. He didn't fit the motive. He didn't fit it. So they ruled out the fiance. Who else? So they talked to the family again, and the nephew had said, this tenant called her 2 nights before, and he was very standoffish with her. He was not acting normal. He was just creeped her out. I tried to tell her, tell somebody about it. She said she could handle him. Don't worry about it. She didn't take his advice, so that's all they had. So, well, it's a promising lead at that. So, the police officers bring in the tenant for interrogation, and the guy is awkward to say the least. But, just because you're awkward or nervous in a police interrogation doesn't necessarily mean you're guilty. But he said he was out of town. He said, talk to the people in this gas station, a couple states over. Maybe they could give me an alibi. He didn't really have an alibi. He was acting fishy, but just something didn't add up. And he was eventually cleared. The case went cold. Time goes by. They didn't believe it was the fiance. They didn't believe it was the tenant. Just no motive. So the case goes cold and no leads. Like, again, the department was not equipped for murder investigations. Who would want to kill this lady? She was the star of the town. So time passes by, and grumblings from the community start. This is the best place on earth. Now, this is Disney World of the world. We've got to find out who did this. So after a lot of backlash from the community to get this solved, they finally got back on the case. And, well, a major breakthrough would be found. They had found a ledger where she would keep every single person that she loaned money to, down to the penny. And they uncovered a very, very suspicious entry. She had loaned her, wait for it, nephew tens of thousands of dollars. Tens of thousands of dollars. The same nephew come by and said, be wary of this guy. The same nephew that gave her the tip to interview the tenant. Well, it turns out this nephew, who was the son of the brother that, found anime. This guy had been racking up gambling debts in the tens, 20, 30,000 of dollars. He got in so deep, and at first he said it was for drilling equipment or mining equipment or something. He said it was for his job. And she bought it at first, but then she got suspicious, and then that right before he murdered her, she had threatened to tell his family, blow up the whole operation, because the day before the dance, he was over there to give her a check for $12,000 to show good faith that he was starting to pay her off. But he didn't have that money. He was giving her that check. He was going to go to another casino, make that money, put it in the bank, and boom, it was paid off. Well, he gave her that check. He went to the casino. He lost it all. So he was going back there that night he killed her to get that check back. She wouldn't give it to him. She threatened to blow up his whole operation. So the police, it took them 4 months to get enough evidence against the nephew. But by that time, he had fled the country. He was gone. He was gone. And it turned out his father had uh, inherited Anime's money. And his father was funding him to live in Costa Rica, where he would do his degenerate gambling, just doing the same thing down there. This guy had a double life. He was having an affair with a casino waitress. Just pure blown scumbag. And it took a while, but finally they tracked him down, walking him out of a casino nonetheless in Costa Rica. Coming out of a casino. And they had found out that his father was funding his, being on the limb down there, his gambling problems, his, supporting him. So he was extradited back up to the States, and finally, at the end of the day, he was convicted and sentenced to 225 years sentences in prison, which I think he got off light because what he did to his family, nonetheless. I think that deserves the death penalty. And his father was also given 2 years, I believe, for aiding and abetting. So, the moral of this story is, and I don't know if there is one, me personally, I wouldn't loan money to family members. I don't loan money to anything, Try to give them means to make their own money or get themselves out of problems, because especially with the family, the more you enable your family, the more they're going to come leech to you. So, if we could take anything from this, it's tough. This is actually a hard story to tell. I got real uncomfortable at the murder part of it. But I want to thank you for watching if you made it this far. And I will see you in the next one.